Several of the challenges that I ask people to do in the course is my way of checking in on them every day on that second week, but also pointing out the places where people really are blinded to what they're doing. And one of those is that I ask them to have no sweet tastes in their drink. When I look at the places where they just have consumed way more calories and gotten themselves into a different bad habit, it's when they are on the keto diet, they're doing everything right, but they have these drinks filled with sweetness that are sabotaging their progress. So in the perfect world, I tell them no sweetener, no sweets in your drinks. And that is ideal. And so let's just hear your history. Like what is it that you like to drink that, before keto, during keto, because you've done keto before, what are some of the things that you said, okay, this is where I'm gonna land now? And you can even start back as a teenager. What was your...
sweet tea.
Sweet tea.
Sweet tea growing up, sweet tea, even in my early years of marriage, for sure.
Okay.
We were travel nurses, and so traveling different places, they'd be like, you want what?
Oh, really? Yeah, so I'm not the only one who's like, what do you mean sweet tea? What's that?
No, it's sweet tea.
What do they sweeten it with?
Oh, sugar.
It's sugar?
Oh, a good cup to 2 cups of sugar and a pitcher of tea. So it's very, very sweet.
Well, you look at carbonated drinks and you think, yeah, it's got sugar in it. When you look at how much sugar it took to make it that sweet, the cup of sugar in a sweet tea is nothing. That's like, oh, that's not even as much as you'd put in a, soda pop. So what else besides sweet tea has been in your history of drinks? Coke? Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
When you went to keto, what did you do to your drinks then to try and cut your carbs?
Coke Zero.
Coke Zero, okay.
Seltzer water, coffee, still with like the stevia in it, but usually 2 packets.
Okay, so still making it pretty sweet. So in the perfect world, I tell people get all calories and sweeteners out of their drinks. Some people can do it. Some people just say, I gotta have a fix. So now that you're doing keto, you're several days in, what's your typical drink? What are you drinking?
Either water with some salt in it,
okay,
or sometimes just some filtered water. And I've had some coffee with cream, and I've taken your advice and tried the cinnamon on the top. So that's doable for me. Okay,
so if the more you can stay on that, the better this goes. When people start slipping into these sugar substitutes, it's one little thing at first, and then by about the end of the 6 weeks, it's everywhere back in their life. So I like none, but I also work with human beings. So then I say, well, let me teach you about the rest of these, because it does, you'll want to fail upwards, do the least damaging thing, and we'll go through what that means. So I have a good, better, best when it comes to sugar substitutes. The best is none, but as you look at the good and better, we'll start with the good, which is stevia and the erythritol. Often those are mixed together in combination, frequently used in lots of different cooking options or sweetening options. And stevia is a good option, but it can have this kind of tang, extra aftertaste, if you would. Erythritol is another sugar substitute, but its downside is it creates a cooling effect to your tongue. Those are out there, and when I look at people using them, I love it when it comes in the doses where you have to open 1 packet at a time, because it's really easy to keep adding the sugar effect. So I like it when they buy the packets, even when they're baking with it, that they have to open up 15 of them to get to the dose for the recipe. I just think that shows you don't just make a scoop and pour it in. You're really processing how much sweetness you're adding to it. And as you get away from sweetness, the reward from sweetness becomes better. It's just like coming off of heroin or nicotine. You've been putting it in the brain over and over again, stimulating. When you remove it, it takes about 6 weeks for those receptors to say, okay, we downregulated. They really kind of regressed back into a more normal, and it won't be normal at 6 weeks. It's just going to be about half as much as it was at the beginning. So if you can get to 6 weeks without any sweet drinks, you really are going to get a better reward when you have sweetness added. Another place of just plain old liquid stevia, really important in cooking. You can hardly have a keto recipe without some of those requests. But what gets to that was good. The better is monk fruit. This monk fruit is also mixed with erythritol, because I actually don't think you can find monk fruit. You can, but in the stores, I can't find monk fruit without something else with it. And I call it the diamond of sweeteners because it's amazingly sweet. It's also very little processing. The amount of processing to get stevia, I know there's a beautiful green leaf on the outside of the package, but it's like 15 chemical processes to get this powder out the other side. There's little natural, there might have been natural at the beginning, but what's at the end is very processed. That's not the case with monk fruit. Monk fruit is really, they put it in boiling water, they dry the fruit, put it in boiling water, and then they extract the sweetness out of that water. So very little processing. It's just that it's a very limited commodity. Monk fruit's only grown in certain places of the world, but it is very sweet. Don't need a lot of those flakes to get you that intensity of sweetness, so a little goes a long way. Adding the erythritol to it gets it so you can actually measure it and put it into cooking agents. So not a bad combination is monk fruit plus the erythritol. The best, what makes it on the best are the ones without any sweetener in it, which is where you come into a little bit of cinnamon. This seems like if people push their nose up at it at first, like how is that ever going to satisfy my sweetness? Don't expect much until you get past that detox time. And it does stimulate, you can see on functional MRIs, it does stimulate a sweetness. So does cacao powder. And you say, like the real cacao powder? I'm like, yep, but it's just a sprinkle and it does signal a sweet flavor. So don't expect much in the first season, but as you get more mature in just adding sweetness, rarely you get a lot of return from the cinnamon cacao. I actually think the cacao nibs are a great little thing for, again, beginners. Have you tasted these? Oh, I'll just taste them. It's just a hint sweet. I didn't call it sweet till I'd been doing keto for a while, so you might not be able to taste it yet.
No, I can't.
Just a whole bunch of cacao, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so allulose is the other one that does make it to it makes it above good. It's in the better. It is not best, because I think no sweeteners is best, but it's really up there. And take a guess based on the OS, glucose, galactose, the sugar molecules. Take a guess what the source of this is.
Oh, I don't know. I would just think, you're always told anything with the OS is to stay away from, because sucralose and all the others are bad.
Right. A high fructose corn syrup, right? Well, I think this is going to redeem our corn farmers, because there is an enzymatic process where you put corn with enzymes that turn it into allulose. And in the world of sweetness, when you compare like monk fruit to sugar, monk fruit is way, I can't remember how many times, multiple times sweeter than the glucose molecule is. Allulose, very similar looking when you look at it chemically, very similar in size, and very similar in sweetness. So I see great things happening for allulose. It's kind of newer onto the market, but I like that one, so it's on my better. Not best is zero, but it's on my better list. The other sweet drinks that I have taught people how to be in transition for keto is to use their own homemade version of kombucha. So it's a sweet tea with fermentation, if you could say. So have you ever made kombucha?
Have I made it? No.
Okay, but you've had a taste of it from, what do you think of kombucha?
Not bad.
Yeah?
It's very doable.
Right? And have you bought the kombucha from the store? Or do you okay. Yeah. So the kombucha's in the stores. I tell people to check the pH out on those kombuchas, because that's where we're going to teach you the to-dos of what not to do on kombucha. Okay. So let's do that. If you crave sweets while on the keto diet, use BHB or Ketones-In-A-Can. You can find them at bozmd.com.